in Central America. And this one is really old. It's like 1400 years old. It's carved out of jade. And then the one on the right is called a keef weave, which means mask. And it's from the Congo. And it is from the 20th century. So again, two different places, two different times, different materials that the masks are made out of. What, you know, what do you suppose the emotions they were trying to express on these? The one on the left, they use these masks as warding off evil spirits, kind of. So that's just, again, the use of masks can be different. The Ko ones from Japan were, you know, used in theater. This is more about protection or safety. So FOMO and FOMO, that was good. Someone said FOMO. That was a great one. This is great. You guys have so many different responses. This is really excellent. And then also, while you're looking at these masks, be looking at how they're, you know, like the one on the left is a pretty solid color with shadows form more. The one on the other right is more graphic with the kind of curvy psychedelic stripes. I mean, it reminds me almost of the hippie 60s, even though it was made 1500 years ago, 1400 years ago. No, that one's pretty, no, that one's from the 20th century. But anyway, those are 4 examples of masks from around the world. Let's go to the next slide. Can we move to the next slide? Someone's waiting. Okay, so these are examples of ones that I've done mostly with 3rd grade classes where, you know, I'm doing what we're gonna do today. We're gonna start with a large piece of paper and then a smaller to cut out the shape of a face, and then add other shapes and just create. You know, sometimes I have a complete idea in mind, and by the time I'm finished with the art, it's not anywhere near, I completely diverted from my initial intention, which never bothers me because that's kind of what the fun part of making art is to me, is the element of surprise. So those 2 I made as examples for classes. And then the next slide, I believe, is some student work. These are 3rd graders. What would you say the emotion, this will be a good one. Type in the chat bar what you think is on the left or the right. Shock. Yummy. These are amazing. What emotion do you see on the right? Scared, shock, surprise, sadness. A lot of you are doing both. Shock, pleading, sorrow, angst, grief. Gosh, they're coming in so fast, I can't even read that fast. So aren't these amazing? I mean, this is why I love teaching art to kids. They are amazing artists. They don't have filters the way adults do. So they just get in there and do it. So I really learn a lot from watching students, little kids make art especially. So let's flip to the next slide. There's one more on the left that's from a 3rd grader. That reminds me almost of Jean-Michel Basquiat. It's amazing. I look at that and I'm like, okay, an 8-year-old made that. Unbelievable, so amazing. I love the gold teeth. And then on the right, this is one that I did specifically kind of using the idea of emotion. So I broke it into 4 sections and they're each a very specific, different emotion. And I want to get started making the art. So I'm just going to go through left to right, 1st row, 2nd row. Obviously very happy in a very erudite, sophisticated way. And then the 2nd one, I was going for anger. And the 3rd one, surprise. And the 4th one kind of shifted. I was doing content, but then as you can see what I put on the shirt, there's a little heart. So it's kind of goo-gooing love, puppy love, I'll call that one. So next slide, and then we'll get started. This is what you're gonna need to do. And I know you probably already know this, and hopefully you've got, it's pretty simple. You just need some paper, any kind of paper, construction colored paper, pattern paper. If you've got any gift wrap handy, you could use some of that. Just interesting different colors. And then you could use a pencil. I'm not even going to use a pencil today because it kind of slows me down. And I'm just going to use, I always talk about collage as drawing with scissors instead of a pencil. And then of course you'll need scissors and a glue stick. So leave that up for another couple of seconds and while you get your stuff, and then we will open it up to the big grid so you can see me and I can see you, the big reveal. Yay. Oh my gosh, this makes me so happy. Not to mention a little nervous. There's 196 people. There's almost 200 people on here. This is so great. So hopefully everyone's rounding up their art supplies. And if it looks like you all are kind of there, if anyone's getting up to go grab some gift wrap paper, I'm going to just show you something really quick that I always think is kind of fun. When I was a kid, I would take a pencil. Actually, I have two screens going on here, so I'm taking off this. Maybe you could spotlight just for a second my other screen. Anna, I don't know if you can spotlight my hands at this point, but I'm just going to show, like, you know, if you have an oval, just a really simple shape. You know, when I was a kid, I would draw like something like this on a little pad of paper of my mom's, and then I would draw a face, and it would be kind of like that. Let me see. Yeah, here I am. So I don't, yeah. See, I just drew a face kind of like this. If you're looking at the other screen now with my hands, and you know, it's so easy to change it. If you do the eyebrows like this, it's a lot different. You're all looking at that other screen. If I erase those eyebrows, look at the difference in emotion. That was kind of sly and demonic and evil. You just switch the eyebrows like that, it's more like pleased or happy. If you make the mouth go like that, uh-oh, surprise. So there's just like subtle shifts that you can do with very simple shapes, you know, basically primary shapes, and you can create a whole bunch of different things. I remember when I was in art school, a teacher taught me this one. I'm going to do two circles. I'm holding this up so I can't draw very well. But if you draw the eyes high, it makes someone look older than if you draw the eyes low. If you make the chin smaller, it's going to look like E.T. But basically, just by moving, you know, shifting the position of the shapes can kind of denote age too. Oh, now I'm spotlight. Okay, so that's just kind of something you can be thinking about when, in terms of if you're already thinking about a specific emotion. So we're going to get started making the art, and I would suggest that you have an emotion in mind, but I would also suggest don't beat yourself up if you, like me, end up with a completely different emotion at the end than what you thought you were going to do. So I'm going to get rid of this. And basically, I teach this kind of portrait thing to, you know, to kids all the time, to younger students. And I always just start by handing, you know, letting them choose a big color shape. And then I have a whole box where I pre-cut, you know, I've just basically torn in half. And I have a whole box of half sheets. So what I always do is have them choose the bigger one for their background color and the smaller one for the face. So that's how we're going to get started, with a big piece and a smaller piece. So get that going. And then I'll just show you real quick. You know, this is some pattern paper that I order with supplies back pre-COVID days. I get all these great pattern papers and share them with kids. This is just wrapping, you know, holiday wrapping paper. But this is from the, you know, these patterns. I think they're almost like wallpaper samples. But, you know, if you can find some interesting, even if it's a package, like check your trash. You have anything interesting in there that's not spoiled that you could use in your collage? Get creative. So I'm looking through my colors, and I'm thinking, and what I'm going to do is you're going to work along with me, and I'll be jibber jabbering pretty much the whole time. But then I'll be working on, you know, while I'm talking, I'll be making the art, and, you know, you don't have to watch my hands for very long because it's pretty self-explanatory. But, you know, like to get started, not even going to use a pencil. And I think I'm going to use the orange for the background since it's Halloween month. I think maybe I'm going to do orange and black, but it's not going to look very Halloween-y. And I'm going to, let's see, get rid of that so it's easy for you guys to see. I'm just going to cut out a weird shape. I'm almost thinking of one of those masks that I showed you. Yes. So I just think it's more exciting if you get some kind of interesting thing just from the very beginning. And then it'll kind of dictate to me what I want to do with it. I remember one of the masks that I just showed you had kind of a weird thing on the side. So I kind of like that. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I'm going to glue it down. Oh, here's the other thing. Like, I'll show you, I have hard copies of, remember I showed you this one? If I had glued the yellow down to the green to begin with, usually with kids, I do say, glue your first shape down. Cut out the shape of your head and glue it on your background as a first start. You know, get this glued down. But for instance, on this, see the lighter piece that I used for the green hair behind? If I had already had this glued down, I wouldn't have been able to put that behind. So I definitely remember I didn't glue the yellow down until I also had the hair or something that I wanted to shift behind it. So maybe I'll even do that with this today. Yeah, maybe this. So just be working. I'll just, you know, out of the corner of your ear, listen to things I'm talking about because it might give you ideas. But now I'm taking another piece of paper and instead of cutting and tearing, because like sometimes I like to get that soft edge for things that could be softer, like hair. Put that like that. Maybe I'll make it completely torn. No straight cut edges. It's all going to be torn. A little Marge Simpson action. Let's see. So I'm moving things around. I'm not committing myself because honestly speaking, you would think since I'm leading this workshop that I would have a very preconceived idea in my head of what emotion I'm going for. And I'll tell you a little secret. I don't know. I haven't thought of them. Another thing is I did think of doing this. I keep a big bag that I take into classrooms of cutaways that kids have already used. If you've ever had me in your classroom, you'll know what I'm talking about. I have a big IKEA bag with tons of scrap. So maybe I'm just gonna, a lot of times if I have pre-cut things, I don't even cut them again. Just end up working out. See, I like that. Didn't even cut that. That was just a cutaway. So maybe I'll use that. I think I am going to commit myself to this. And I just need to give you a heads up. We're going to work on this we're going to actually work on the art making for about 20 more minutes. And then we're going to go into some breakout rooms for, you know, kind of a reflection. So we're not in such a big group and you actually, you know, get to share with the people in your breakout rooms. But for the next 20 minutes or so, we're just going to be kind of doing what I'm doing. And because now I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 3 shapes, I think I am going to start gluing it down just so I don't get lost. So when you're gluing and you already have a lot of shapes, obviously the first step is to glue the furthest one back. And sometimes it's another little trick. If I want to, if it's, this is not exact where I need to put it, but if it was really exact, sometimes I do this. I do registration marks. I do a little line there and a little line there to show this closer. See, I did a pencil line that shows where this is a very good trick that some art teacher taught me back when I was in my 20s, a million years ago when I was in art school. So I know exactly how that one's going to land. I'm using a colored glue stick, the orange one, or the purple one, so I can kind of see where I'm putting the glue. And I always tell kids, you don't need to put a bunch of glue in the middle. It's not cake frosting. It's not chewing gum. It's just a glue stick, so don't use a whole stick on one thing. So I just put the glue on the edges. I don't even put any. I could maybe do an X just to make sure it sticks down. But you know, obviously gluing the edges is the important part, and that's the part kids a lot of times don't understand unless you show them. So there's that. Now I have my hair glued down. Now my next step is the face shape. I'll turn that one over. And I'm kind of, this is kind of working out well because I'm gluing, you know, I don't even have to put down a newspaper or a piece of plastic or anything because I'm self-contained on top of the art that I'm already making, so I'm not getting glue on my table. But again, on the edges, flip it over. And I didn't register this one, so I don't remember exactly where it went, but it doesn't really matter. I can kind of, looks good right about there. Press, press, press. And I think I want to use this, but see, I did that cool little weird Frankenstein number, and now I kind of maybe don't want to get rid of that. So I'm going to think about that one. I'm going to leave that there. It's kind of like some strange biomorphic geometric bow. And then definitely want to use this pattern paper. Maybe this could be, what look like a collar. It's like the fun thing about using patterns is sometimes you can actually be thinking of a facial feature and make, you know, find shapes that are not, like for instance, they're not designed to be eyes, but you could turn them into eyes. Like I might use part of this for eyebrows. But just this orange triangular leaf shape might be a good, what's it called? You know, like the inset of a shirt. Yeah, I see, I like that. That's gonna work. I feel so confirmed about that I'm gonna glue it down right now. In smaller shapes, sometimes I do use a scrap paper and I just put glue over the whole thing if it's a small shape. It really gets glued down. Now, come to that point in our program where I have to make some kind of an emotion. So I think I'm going to do something, because these shapes, and I hope you guys are not just watching me. You can be listening. If you are into listening, you can totally tune me out, make a song in your head and tune me out, because sometimes my blah, blah, blah will just get into your creative chi. But I'm cutting out a couple of these ornament shapes because they're already printed. I'm not doing anything different. I'm actually cutting out the shapes, and I'm going to look at them and then kind of see what emotion is that leaning towards. And I can tell already it's not going to be tired or sleepy. That's not going to be the direction of this based on these two shapes. Definitely not tired or sleepy. And I'm starting to think, don't want the polka dot though, because I don't really like the colors with it. Trying them low, probably make the person look younger. Higher, maybe a little older. I'm thinking I'm going to use some more of this paper. I'm going to do a nose out of it. See how that looks. The other part, my two favorite parts about collage is you don't have to glue things down right away, so you have flexibility when you can kind of change your mind, and it's not like erasing a pencil, because you don't even have to erase. Just don't use the piece of paper. And then my other favorite part is that I forgot what I was even going to say. Got so into cutting out my nose. Yeah, I'm loving my nose. See, I use the things that already were, and it's just making a really fun face. Now, a lot's going to change when I do the eyebrows and the mouth, because all I know is it's not sleepy or tired. It's kind of wired at this point, but what's going to happen if I do this? It's pretty cool. But as I say, I haven't glued any of the features down, so this could totally shift. I'm going to try doing eyebrows by bisecting another one of these leaves, the same colors, the same shape that I used for the nose. I'm going to see if I bisect it in half down the middle. So I've got pretty much symmetrical eyebrows. I don't know if you can see this. So if you're not too totally busy working on your thing, look for a second here, because I'm just showing you the difference. Like if I make the eyebrows like this or like that, that is a completely different personality, totally different story. I was an illustrator for many years. So, you know, a magazine would hire me to do some piece that had to do with the article, editorial article. So a lot of times I would play around with shapes to show emotion, because that's what the job was. So I'm kind of deciding, do I want her to be someone stern, someone worried? And before I glue that down, I'm gonna, oh, that was the other thing. You can make, like with collage, I have cut this out for the mouth and I love it, but I'm gonna try something else, because maybe I'll do something else that I like even more. So I found another crazy paisley pattern. So I'm gonna cut out this shape, and that way I can choose between the two mouths. Just keeping my eye on the time. We've got about 10 more minutes to work, so we're doing good. At least I am. I have no idea. And I know you can't even lift it up and show the camera. Everything's gonna fall over. That's why I'm glad I've got my second cell phone setup as this so I can keep flat and you guys can kind of watch me in progress. Ooh, that's a big mouth. Oh my gosh, totally different emotion. That's more like really scared, freaked out. Maybe FOMO. I love that someone typed in FOMO earlier. That's great. But I'm definitely going toward, oops, oops. Another thing I find that I like to do is sort of tie, you know, when I'm doing a collage, I had this one piece of paper with all this pattern on it. And the more I use of it, it kind of ties things in color-wise. Like if this was a painting and I had some orange going on down here, I might want to balance it out by putting some orange up there. So I'm not painting, but I'm kind of painting with collage. I'm thinking maybe I will try putting a little feather or whatever this is going to look like. It's turning into a she. I wasn't even sure whether it was male, female, or gender neutral, but it's turning out to be some relative. Maybe it's one of Marge Simpson's secret sisters that we didn't even know existed. See, this is really my favorite part. If you don't commit, you know, I haven't glued down any of this yet. So I'm, you know, once I move it around, it'll be easier to just bing, bing, bing to glue it. And of course, this goes without saying, the finished product is not even the main deal here. It's the process. I always tell this to kids when we're working together. It doesn't even matter if you finish. You know, it's just the idea that you are exploring something new. Just kind of what can you come up with? And probably more than drawing, with collage, you kind of have to, unless you have a brain that is so hooked up radically different than mine, you can't really possibly, like, look at your art that you've got right now. I bet you no one, when you look at what you have going on, did you envision this beforehand? It looks exactly like what you thought you were going to do when I was introducing the lesson. I'm pretty sure that that's across the board not the case, which is exciting. You know, with the drawing, I can kind of draw more what I have in my mind. When I do collage, it immediately starts to evolve into something I wasn't expecting. Yep, see, I don't like that. I'm too busy. But I am going to make the commitment now to glue down because we are less than 10 minutes to doing our breakout rooms. So if you haven't started gluing any of your shapes yet, now would be a good time to get some of them down. Yep, the eyes keep going backward to that position. It's almost like they have a honing magnetic device. Her eyes want to be right here. Well, I'm thinking about it. Before we started doing the art making, I was just going to say, it's such a bizarre, maybe I mentioned it earlier, but the idea that who knew a year ago or 9 months ago that it would be absolutely pretty much insistent that we had to wear masks in public. You know, normally that would be like, no, you don't wear a mask. That's creepy. Don't take the mask off. But we are now living in an international culture where we're all, you know, running around with the lower half of our face completely, you know, you don't know what people look like. I have a friend that's very gregarious. He's very outgoing. He sparkles when he smiles and laughs. He's like a child. He sparkly blue eyes and like just a big baby happy face. And I saw him recently. He showed up at my front door to do something, and I opened the door and he had a baseball cap on, sunglasses, and the mask. And I'm like, is that you? You know, he was like, it just didn't have any of the energy of him because he literally had his whole face concealed. There was very little skin showing. Okay, now I'm getting to the point where I've only got a couple more shapes that I know of to glue down. Hopefully we're getting close to, yeah, we've got about 6 more minutes. So take your time. You know, once I get these shapes glued down, I'm gonna take a look and see if I want to add anything in the background or anything more to the clothing. Good thing I have a whole bunch of glue sticks because that one is dead.
I'm sorry? The killer is in this room. The killer is in this room. Yes, I know. Yeah. The killer is in this room. The killer is Leslie the Groupie. You hopscotch from bed to bed with Rick Rosscott back in the day, and it's right to a movie in your car. The question is, who is this daddy? It wasn't so easy to force a crazy thing like that. So you were left to raise your child all by yourself. Years of bitterness, fuel, painful, fire, made from flame. And you came back here tonight to all the things for daddy. One by one. I'm also sensing that you lifted a few items with DNA on them this evening.
I'm gonna come on video just for a second. I think we're hearing some background noise. Somebody might have their TV on. If anybody in the audience is not currently muted, could you please mute yourself so we just hear Larry? Thank you so much.
All right, it's not your ice cream truck, is it? I actually did hear the ice cream truck at one point when you were talking.
No, it's not my ice cream truck currently.
So now I'm kind of like, you know, I got these kind of feathery or hair, you know, crest of hair shapes going, and I have to make a decision. Sometimes less is more. So before I glue down my last shapes, I really try to get real with it and decide whether it needs it or whether it's just something that doesn't even need it. So if this had been an illustration assignment, I couldn't have approached it quite the same way, because obviously if it was an illustration, I would have had, you know, one of the parameters of the illustration would be, what is the emotion I'm trying to show? So I was just kind of free flowing it with this, and it turned into what it turned into. But if it was something about a villainous, bad woman, I would have done the eyebrows, you know, more tilted this way. If it had been about a child, I would have lowered the eyes more. You know, it's just kind of like depends on whether your end product, it's important to you that it shows something specific, or whether it's completely cool to let it evolve like a piece of fine art as opposed to an illustration.
Larry, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I haven't even been looking. What's the question?
Yeah, the question is, does everything have to be glued, or can some pieces be 3D?
This is your art. Great question. It can totally be 3D. You know, obviously when I'm working with a class of 20 or 30 kids, I discourage them to do outrageous things. Like, you know, I don't care if sometimes they pop off the paper, and then that's fine. But, you know, they might want to have a display of them together on the wall in their class. And if it's too crazy, it's not gonna, you know, and if you do 3D things and then they have to stack them, obviously that's kind of problematic. But definitely do knock yourselves out, do something totally cool. We're gonna, for those of you brave enough to show your art, at the very end, I hope we will do a screenshot of everyone's art. But we are almost, Laura, what do we have? A couple more minutes till we should go to the breakout room?
Yeah, we have about 5 more minutes.
Okay, so everyone just be thinking. I'm like looking and trying to decide whether I want to add anything or whether it's done. If it's done, it's done. I'm always telling students, if it's finished, you don't have to keep going. Sometimes things get worse. A drawing, a painting, a collage. Sometimes the most difficult part of being an artist is knowing when to stop. Made up my mind, I don't want that purple shade. It's just kind of, it's interesting, but it detracts from the actual features of the face. So I'm not going to use that purple crest. But I do maybe want to add shoulder. See, again, I'm balancing out the color. The hair is blue, so I'm thinking maybe it'll be interesting to do a little shoulder action at the bottom. Okay. If you want, if you're almost finished, you could actually be thinking of a title you want to give yours. Just thinking about that for mine. Mess here. I'm real good at making a mess real quick. I'm excited that we are really pretty much running out of time because I can't wait to see what all of you did. Okay, I'm unspotlighted, right? We're gonna gather our resources and do the breakout rooms. So yeah, we're gonna go into the breakout rooms. Yeah, you're being invited to a breakout room. It's gonna be 5 minutes and then we'll regroup, maybe have someone from your group present what you guys talked about it. But we have a lot of groups, so maybe not everyone.
Larry, the breakout rooms are actually going to be 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes.
They're 2 parts, yeah.
Excellent. Oh, I see 5 and 5. Got it. 5 minutes to share your artwork with each other, and then the second 5 minutes to discuss the connections on social, emotional learning and ways you can adopt this lesson for your students. Because I'm sure you're across the board with, age groups, everyone from, I don't know, kinder through older kids. So I love how your animated timer kind of matches the feel of the art that I did.
Hi, Laura. I just texted you. The breakout room function is not working for me right now.
Okay, let me take a look and see if I can do it.
Same with me.
Yeah, me too.
The breakout rooms are not there. None of you are able to enter.
No. Yeah, we joined, but
Yeah, I don't know how.
I think you have to stop sharing and then do the breakout room.
Okay, let's try that. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
Stop sharing the slide.
Laura, I just made you the host, and I can share this screen.
Yahoo.
Okay, just a sec.
So
Is it happening?
I'm not sure what to do.
Okay, there it goes. Inviting again. Okay.
I don't know how. How do we go to a breakout room?
When it
You
pops up,
You're the
in the-
host. Like there should be a little thing on the bottom that says breakout rooms, or you're able to see it.
No.
Only
Yeah,
the host. Only the
I
host
see,
can make
I
the
see
breakout.
Larry.
I was
But
by
we should
myself.
get a pop-up that says, go to breakout room now, or something like that.
But only the host can do it.
Yes. And you have to enable that on your the settings where it says enable breakout rooms. I don't know if that was done.
Anna, I went ahead and made you the host again to see if you can do it. We might end up having to improvise something else. Thanks for your patience, everybody. This worked in the rehearsal, I promise.
Maybe Lawrence, are you there?
I'm here.
Can you address, there was questions in the chat
Yeah.
about students who don't have paper,
Yes.
colored paper and things like that. How would you do that? I know for me, I was using markers or they could use crayons, but what do
Yeah.
you suggest?
Well, I mean, because we really were focusing on shape, it is collage. It lends itself so well to that. I would say even if they only have their notebook, spiral notebook paper, lined paper, and a pair of scissors and anything to glue with, Elmer liquid glue, glue stick, to just, it's not important. Like I kind of have all these bright, showy papers because I have tons of art supplies. I know, most families and kids wouldn't have what I just had on my table. But that's why I was saying, think about gift wrap paper, think about circulars that come in the mail, junk mail that everyone just throws out every day. At least I do. And
There should be, sorry, Larry, there should be an invitation to a breakout room, but if you're in the chat and you can let me know if that's not working for you.
it's going fast. They're all going to breakouts. They're breaking out fast.
Sorry to interrupt you, Larry.
Oh, that's great. But that was a good question.
Larry, do you want to hear from a couple of teachers?
Sure. If anyone wants to unmute and share, and then we're gonna, at the very end, can we do a screenshot, everyone holding up their art?
Sure, yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah, if you'd like to share what you talked about in
share.
your breakout room, great.
I can share really quick. In terms of supplies, I didn't have the supplies, so I just doodled with my markers, whatever. But I told my group that an interesting idea that came up was connecting this with Picasso's masks and Picasso's blue mood, the red, whatever it is, and integrate it in there. And since I'm a second grade teacher, we do people who've made a difference.
Right.
So and also we write biographies, right? So trying to put all that together and then come with this and doing this mask and then furthering it along, maybe do Henry Matisse and how he uses collage a different way.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for your feedback. That's so perfect. Anyone else want to share? I'm itching to see what everyone's got. How many minutes do we have?
I'll share. Our group, we talked about, there are a couple of us in the work special ed.
Gina, your sound got real quiet. Did something get disconnected? You were fine for a split second and then it went really.
Does that work?
That's better.
1, 2, 3. Better. So our group, there are a couple special ed teachers in there. We talked about how we would approach it with like moderate to severe students or younger students instead of having allowing a full palette on their own, but creating a palette with emotions that they're working with. Kind of like last week, there was a big emotional wheel. That would be too many for our students, but maybe 1 to maybe 5 to 10 emotions that they can pick from to work with, rather than becoming overwhelmed and a little bit confused. Were you able to hear me?
I don't know about everyone else, but I could barely hear. I heard palette. Did anyone else?
Well, I'll try to put it.
Now I can hear you. Say it again real quick, because now you're fine.
We were a couple teachers when we worked special ed, and we talked about how we appreciated a lot of the art is inclusion with our students. We talked about rather than just saying, you know, giving them some smaller palette, giving them an emotional chart, but a small one to work with.
Yes.
You know, maybe 10 emotions.
Yes.
Rather than, you know, we don't want to become too overwhelmed, but we want them to be able to connect with something and then move through the art and work with it. So that's
Great.
where we are.
Excellent.
One of the educators in our group pointed out that by changing the emotions physically, it kind of like will allow the kids to see that their emotions can flow as well. So, which you can't do with drawing. So I thought that was a really good point on her part.
Great observation. The fluidity that, you know, like instead of taking a time out, maybe take an art out or just you play around with shapes and realize you may be feeling very angry right now, but it's easy to shift that. I love that. That's excellent.
Yeah.
I'd like to share, if you don't mind. It's Raina. This is what I did for my art. And I was thinking of cultures, you know, almost on the borderline that you were talking. But today we were collaborating with the teacher and we were thinking, you know, what can we do from home that it's art? And this is a great idea. And one of our teachers in the groups, she didn't have color paper. So what she did is that she colored the shapes. And then we were talking, you know, and then we were talking, maybe if the kid does want to make it into a collage, then they can cut the colors and start gluing.
Yes. Great idea. I would have thought of that. Make your own colored paper with markers, crayons, patterns. Great.
Thank you.
And I also just had the idea that for music, they could do this to represent kind of like their instrument, the way they feel it or see it. Maybe because, you know, drawing, sometimes they can't, but I think this would be great for them to express their instrument or the way music makes them feel in shapes, which is pretty cool.
So cool. They could even do the shape of the instrument and sort of anthropomorphize it into, you know, a face or, you know, like just some facial features. You know, a trombone is happy, loud, or boisterous. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's super cool. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been so much fun. So, are we about out of time? Should we do a screenshot? I have to be honest with you. I'm itching to see everybody's art.
Yeah, if people who are on video want to hold their artworks up, maybe for like 10 seconds or so. We'll take a couple screenshots.
Couple, we got 7 pages. Maybe hold it up like how I'm doing so you can see you and your work. Wow. Oh my gosh. I wish we could have a gallery, a whole, like imagine the Boone Gallery, which no longer exists. If you look at the museum, anyone, it's gone. The old part is gone. But you know, imagine all these in a grid on that big wall of the Boone Gallery.
It's so sad. It's
Oh,
just
I'm
a pile
excited.
of dirt and dust.
So excited. Imagine, take yourself into 2 years into the future. I have no time for sadness because I'm thinking, what is that going to look like in 2 years? Imagine you're standing on top of Wilshire Boulevard, looking at art and looking at cars drive underneath you.
Isn't that kind of scary in Earthquake County though?
Well, we'll take it a step at a time.
Thank you everybody so much for holding up your artworks. They're absolutely exquisite. That was the fastest I've ever taken screenshots in my life.
Them all?
Zooming through the pages. I know we're a few minutes over time. Before you go, I'm just gonna share the kind of the same links in the chat that I shared at the beginning. The link to sign up for Thursday's workshop, that's gonna be with our teaching artist, Peggy Hasagawa. A lot of you know Peggy from coming to Evenings for Educators in person on campus. She's usually there teaching a workshop. We also have information about our online courses, virtual field trips, the resources for this program. If you are a salary point or professional development hours teacher, make sure you fill out the bottom portion of the survey that's going to go out either tonight or tomorrow morning. And if you're not receiving the surveys, I know some people are having issues with that, reach out to me. I just posted my email in the chat and I'll go ahead and post it again. And send us pictures of artwork, your artwork. If you do this with your students, you know, take more screenshots, obviously without their faces in them. We'd love to see how you implement this in your classrooms. It's really heartwarming to be together with all of you and see you exchanging ideas and expressing your creativity. These are definitely trying times, and it just really warms all of our hearts to be able to collaborate with you on this programming. So thank you all so much. And if you have questions for me right now, feel free to come on to your mic and just ask away.
I had a question. Were these sessions going to be recorded at all to view at a later time or to show our kids at all, or not appropriate?
So Larry already recorded a video of him doing this exact project, and it is in the curriculum resources that we posted in the chat. I'll post those links again. But
Are we allowed to show that to our kids? Is that acceptable? Is that okay?
Yeah, totally okay.
I just want to ask permission. I always want to ask permission before, you know, showing someone.
Oh yeah, all the video content that we have been creating, art making videos, that's all for sharing with your students.
Don't they call them teachables?
Yeah, Teachable is the online platform we're using.
I just wanted to thank Larry. I really appreciate you. This was wonderful. And
I appreciate you and each and every, I mean, it is so exciting. I mean, I feel like I just went to a party. Let's face it, we're all stuck at home. You're with kids all day. I'm sure you're like, oh yeah, yeah. But I very rarely get to be in a situation like this. So I'm like, wow. So thank all of you, really, from the bottom of my heart.
And I also wanted to say that I was one of the ones that said that I didn't receive the surveys. However, I were in clutter. Both of them were in clutter, so I had the opportunity to fill them out. So I just said that in case somebody else hadn't received theirs, if they can check clutter, it might be there.
Thank you so much for that reminder, Linda. Yeah, sometimes the surveys land in people's spam or clutter boxes. So definitely check there if you're not getting them. Anybody else?
I have a question. I signed on today with my PC. Is there a way to do it with my Mac?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have internet connected to your Mac, then you can, and you download Zoom, you should definitely be able to sign in.
Okay, great. I probably have to download Zoom on that computer.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. I noticed I went on to try and sign up for a virtual field trip, I'm not at a Title I school. So is my only option the course curriculum that I found here for my grade level?
Yes, at the moment.
I've
Yes.
taught it both, so I think Title I deserves it, but I thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. Thank you for asking.
Is it possible for you to send the screenshot to us?
Oh my gosh, this is, I mean, sorry, I'm realizing that I don't know enough about ethics of image sharing and whether I don't know if I have everybody's permission to share those screenshots. I know most people were covering their face with their artwork, but some weren't. So I'm not, at the moment, I'm going to say no, because I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I wish we could. Okay, well, thank you again so much, and we hope to see you on Thursday for our final workshop of the program. Have a great night, everybody.